Good morning, class. Okay, Christy, please lead the prayer. Amen. So, before you sit properly, please pick up the piece of paper and arrange your chair properly. Okay, you may now take your seat. Class secretary who are absent today? Very good. All of you are present. So before we proceed to our formal discussion, I want to remind you about our class of rules. First, be punctual. Second, be respectful. Third, be participate. Fourth, raise your hand when you say something, when you want to say something. And lastly, listen when your teacher or classmates are discussing. What was our last topic yesterday? Okay, Darlene. Very good. Last meeting, we discussed about intertidal zone and estuarine ecosystem. And again, what is the difference between the two? Venus. Excellent. Intertidal zone is an areas which are constantly exposed to the changing time, while estuarine is an areas which have the mixture of salt water and fresh water. It is also called what? Very good. It is also called the nurseries of the sea. As an introduction for a new topic today, let's have an activity. So this activity is entitled Feel Me. And as you can see, there is a blank space 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what we're going to do is to fill out the blank space by guessing what organisms or features of organisms should come first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, that's good. So let's now start it. So this is the picture. First is a snake. Second, an eagle. The third one is a grasshopper. Next is a toad. And lastly is a grass. Okay, so now you will guess what should be its number. Very good. It's for number 3. How about this one? Excellent. It's for number 2. How about this one? Very good. Number 5. And this one? Very good. Number 4. And it is for number 1. Okay, good job everyone. So what do you think is the concept being shown in this diagram? MJ? Very good. So this diagram shows the feeding relationship of an organism and on how they transfer the energy from an organism to another. Did you enjoy the activity? Very good. And now, let's try a new one. But in the next activity, I will be dividing you into 3 groups. And each group will have a mystery box which contains pictures of various organisms. You just need to choose a picture of an organism and place it into a bond paper to create a diagram of picture. Afterwards, you will explain the meaning of a picture. Are you ready? Okay, so I will just give you 5 minutes to accomplish this task. Okay. For group 1, group 2, and group 3. Are you done? Okay, so now let's proceed to the presentation. Group 1. Very good. Group 2. Excellent. For group 3, good job. Give yourself a round of applause. And now, let's proceed to our formal discussion. For our learning objectives, at the end of discussion, the pupils are expected to first identify if an organism is producers, consumers, and the composer. Explain the definitions of food chain and give an example of food chain. The Earth is a huge ecosystem, right? Okay, and which consists of living and non-living factors. And of all non-living factors, the most important is? What is the most important? Very good. The most important is the light from the sun. Why it is important? Excellent. It is important because it is the source of energy from the whole ecosystem, which is being passed from one organism to another. Energy is the loss to the environment. That is why the Earth needs a constant supply of light for the sun. So, the non-living organisms consists of producers, consumers, and decomposers. And let's discuss them one by one. First is the producers. It is a green plants, algae, or microorganisms that are capable of making their own food. So, how they are making their own food? Cha? Very good. They make their own food by converting energy from the sun into a chemical energy. Producer provides an energy and nutrients to the other organic cells. So, like what being shown in our example, in our first example, the producer is a grass who gives the energy to the grasshopper. And from the energy from the grasshopper, it is transferred into a toad, a snake, and finally to an eagle. Next is the consumers. Consumers get their energy by feeding on plants and other organisms. Therefore, all animals are very good. All animals are consumers, and consumers have 3 parts or types. First is the primary consumers. It is also known as very good, a herbivore, which means that they only eat plants. Second is a secondary consumers. So it is the carnivore that eat herbivore. And lastly is the tertiary consumers. So if in primary consumer, the consumers are only eat plants, and secondary consumers, they eat a herbivore, and tertiary consumer, a carnivore, are feed on other carnivore. So did you understand the 3 types of consumers? Okay, very good. Could you identify them in the example in our first activity? So what is a first consumer? Excellent. The first consumer is a grasshopper. How about the secondary consumer? Very good. The secondary consumer is a tooth. How about the tertiary consumer? Yes, the tertiary consumer is the hoop. Next is the decomposer. Decomposer with energy vibranium organisms and their waste. So when they break down these dead organisms in waste, nutrients are needed by plants for being growth and development. So the example of this is fungi and bacteria. Finally, our main topic for today, the food chain. And like what you said, a food chain is a series of organisms in which each organism feeds on each other and so on. So a feeding relationship among organisms can be shown by a food chain. And this is an example of food chain where a grass feeds the grasshopper and the energy from the grasshopper transferred into tooth, and from tooth it transferred from snake, and from snake it transferred to the hoop. As you can see, it's always begin with a producer. And that's our composed of our discussion for today. Did you understand it? Very good. Now, let's proceed to our next activity. And now, I want you to look at your surroundings and give an example of food chain based from the organisms that you observe. Okay, are you done? Okay, Joy, can you give an example? Very good. That's a good example. So now, let's proceed to the another activities. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. In this activity, you are going to identify if the following organisms is producer, consumers, and decomposers. Are you ready? Class, are you ready? Okay, so let's start with number 1. What animal is this? Very good. It is old. What kind of organism it is? Very good. It is consumer. How about the number 2? A diatom. It is excellent. It is producer. How about the number 3? Carla. Very good. It is decomposer. How about the number 4? Alvin. It is very good. It is consumer. How about the number 5? Krisa. Okay, it is decomposer. Number 6, Arlene. Yes, it is producer. Very good. How about number 7, Gia? Okay, it is consumer. And the number 8, it is what? It is very good. It is the composer. How about number 9? The snail. It is very good. It is a consumer. A primary consumer. And lastly is a rabbit. What kind of organism it is? It is very good. It is consumer. Good job, class. Give yourself a round of applause. That's the end of our discussion. And for your assignments, in one sheet paper, give an example of food chain and make an advanced reading about food web.